So this presentation or webinar, we're going to cover what's new with PTC Windchill. My name's Ben Banford, Director of Sales with Domain Systems. I've got one of our counterparts, Cody Wiltrout from PTC with us, and I'll introduce him here and he'll run through the majority of the presentation. Those of you that we're not familiar with, meaning Domain Systems that are here, you've more than likely heard of PTC. Domain Systems is a PTC channel partner. We've got 24 years of experience in engineering and IT professional services. We provide PLM and IoT focused leadership and assistance manufacturing supply chains in the discrete manufacturing verticals. So since 1996, that's when Domain Systems started. The owner of the company then is still the sole owner of the company today. So we're looking at over 20 years of discrete manufacturing, PLM focused disciplines and experience, right? So that's been our go-to, the space that we have developed ourselves in as a company for that many years. So our team, our services team, has an average of 12 years, right? So the individuals that are in the field have been here for some time, and that's something that we pride ourselves in. We focus on retention of our team, and we rarely hire out or contract other individuals to deploy what we are selling, right? So success is something, in terms of a successful project, that's something that we hold within our hands. I've been here with Domain 10 years at this point, and so we've performed more than 300 PLM implementations, right? So from the ground up, brand new, net new type deployments, we've got 300 of those under our belt. 200 custom built applications. So in terms of integrations, process extensions, we have got 200 plus of those. And then we focus in really the 8 manufacturing or discrete manufacturing verticals, right? And I know, traditionally there's only 3 or 4 of those, but we look at it a little more diverse than that as we've developed certain approaches, fast start deployment methodologies, taking into account the regulatory components for medical device and aerospace and these things. So we have got our again accelerates to kick certain verticals and businesses up quickly, right? Let's get either a phase 1 going, realize ROI quickly, and then address the phase 2, phase 3 from there. 24 partners and alliances. So very partner friendly, something we focus on, of course, that certainly being the case with us in PTC. So next slide, Cody. So with Windchill, so PTC Windchill PLM, Cody again is going to kind of go through the what's new, and a lot of that is just fundamental type methodology that's been built upon, right? But of course there are new things with new versions. But what we focus on, right, from the partner perspective, data migration, of course, installations. We've got we call them health check offerings. Those can come in a couple of different flavors as we're evaluating and assessing the health of the business, not only from a technical perspective, but a functional perspective. How is the team interacting with the system in the application side? What can be improved? In many cases, that looks like training, right? Again, integrations, I mentioned, we, over the years, have been kind of a go-to for a few of our different partners in terms of mainline interfaces with ERP. It's something that we've done for years and years and pride ourselves in. So from there, let's go ahead, Cody, to the next slide. I'll get you introduced, sir, and then turn it over to you. So Cody Wiltrout. Cody is an accomplished applications engineer working for PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence. He has been part of the PTC team for over 3 years and focuses on PLM and CAD products. Cody received his undergrad in biomedical engineering from Penn State, which is awesome. So with that, Cody, if you don't mind, sir, I'll just kind of turn this over to you and you go through this for us, and then we'll circle back with any questions that may come up there at the end.
All right, great. Thank you very much for the introduction and nice to get to meet everyone on the line today. As mentioned, I'm going to be going over some of what's new in Windchill, and I'm going to start from 11 and work our way through 11.1 and the latest version with 11.2. So starting with a little bit of the basics, one of the newer products that we have coming to Windchill, or that has come to Windchill, is Navigate. For anyone on the line unfamiliar with Navigate, what this is a tool that allows downstream users who would not be traditional heavy users in Windchill a more simplified user interface to access information from. So rather than going into Windchill to try to find a document or a drawing, you can come to Navigate, which has a very simple search user interface to allow you to find things like documents, drawings, be able to view part visualizations and structures, and even be able to build out some custom apps where you could do things like display ERP information and PLM information in the same table. So you could have a list of parts as well as the cost and quantity that you have in stock currently, and then maybe some change information against them all in one table, giving you better views into your information. So this is a very useful tool for anyone who would want access to information from Windchill, but may not be best guided on proper use cases inside of it. We've also now added PLM to the cloud. So we have a lot of options around cloud hosting for Windchill, which allows us to help our customers reduce their overhead IT costs and implementation costs, setting things up on premises and hosting those servers. This also allows you to scale very quickly. If you start growing, you can just spin up more servers as you would need to and things like that, and really just helps us to be able to push updates and things as well more easily, helping to increase the value to our customers and making things a little bit more flexible for them. Now, in terms of some actual Windchill basics here, we have the searching functionality, which we always continue to work to improve. As you'll be aware, you can always do simple or advanced searches based off of the name, the number, some attributes, and possibly some basic information about that part or document or whatever it would be. But we're continuing to work to improve that and make it faster and easier for reuse so that you can spend less time searching inside of the system and more time doing whatever it is with the object you were looking for. We've also seen some updates to parts link classification, which allows you to use some more advanced classifications for your data to make it easier to search through or to organize, and better filtering for searching. So we've really unified our search interface, making it so that you can do complex queries, nested ands or statements, do faceted searching once you've done the search to help simplify down what you have as results, do embedded searching in documents, searching on those attributes and related search object capabilities. So we're just going to keep trying to improve that search functionality and organization so that it makes it easier for you to keep track of your data and quick to find. The bill of materials has also seen a few updates. So we now have the ability to enable faster transformation to the manufacturing bill of materials. So for anyone on the line who has used NPM Link before, depending on when you last used it, you may be used to the older user interface. We've actually replaced the old applet user interface with an HTML user interface, and you're going to see that that's a pretty common thread throughout Windchill as we've gone through updates. But with that HTML user interface, it makes it much smoother and easier to use and really cleans up the UI for the user's end. And we've also made the bill of materials more visual, being able to work on things associatively at the part or the occurrence level, making it a little bit easier to identify objects there. And lastly, with all of that as well, we've now added the ability to have plant-specific attributes on your embalm. So you could always filter based off of plant location, but you can now add attributes that are specific to plant location. So you could have a different BOM with different attributes based off of whatever plant it is to help fit the manufacturing styles at those different locations. So you've really got a lot of updated capability there and being able to take your design BOM and push it down to manufacturing with that new user interface, as well as some of that new information that you can store with those bills of material. Moving from 11 into 11.1, We've seen some platform improvements to start off with, and that first one being what I was just touching on with the applet removal and WebGL plugin replacement. So with this, traditionally we've had applets that have worked inside of Windchill with the web UI, but a lot of web browsers are moving away from applet plugins. And because of that, we've decided to do the same and move to an HTML-based editor. You can see on the left an example of the HTML version versus on the right, the older Java applet version. It's already faster just launching it, and you don't have to do any sign-ins or anything like that to launch the applet. And you can see the UI is very clean in that HTML layout and format. So it's faster, easier to use, and a cleaner user interface, as well as the fact that all of the major browsers are moving to that. And so that's why we decided to update our system as well to support that functionality. Now, something new to Windchill, if you've been on Windchill for a while, is licensing compliance. So Windchill now has licensing, and that means that to run Windchill, you are going to need license files, which are locked to the Windchill instance, and based on the subscriptions and the number of users that you have. So this will make it easier for compliance, being able to keep track of what users you have and what kind of capabilities they need. Going off of the platform, we've also seen some usability updates. The number one request being cascading attributes. So cascading attributes just means that whenever you go into the wizard where you are going to be uploading information from, you can now pick and have subcategories based off of your initial input. So for example, here we're seeing a country and the continent and the state and the city based around that. And so all that information is specific to where you picked first. And you can see over on the right-hand side there how you would edit some of those rules and how you build out those options in the tree branch kind of and if or statements here. Now to show you an example of that, we'll just start bringing in some information for a new part. We start with saying what continent this is being worked on, and then from that continent it recognizes, okay, these are the only options we have for countries in Europe, and the only states that we have in Germany, and the only cities in that state. So rather than just listing all options, it gives you the ability to really break that down and go point by point through your options. Next, we also now have rich text management inside of Windchill. So this just allows you to use rich text editing inside of Windchill and throughout. So you can now use this in things like your change management workflow, as well as annotations and things. So this allows you to just more clearly get your point across, especially in change management, be able to change the text and make sure that everyone is following along with your design intent and understanding what that process should be and what your goals are. Now, the last point I'll bring up before we get into the multi-CAD publishing for AR is that we are always working on improving the CAD data management functionality, both for Creo and for other CAD tools. So we're always updating and making that UI a little bit smoother and making that process a little bit better. Now, the right-hand side here shows that we now have multi-CAD AR publishing. And so what we mean by this is if you've ever seen PTC's Vuforia Studio, it's an augmented reality platform that allows you to create augmented reality experiences. We've pre-built a little bit of its capability into Windchill now. So this is free and comes in Windchill with that subscription now, and you have the ability to take CAD models and essentially publish it out for other people to be able to review. Now, the way that this works is you start by publishing the experience from the part. So you pick the part that you're interested in and choose Publish AR Experience. Then you set some basic information around it, like orientation and viewability, publish it, and share off the THINGWORX, or you can have it emailed directly to them as well, to users who you would want to review that information. And then they can use a tablet or a smartphone to be able to review that and see what that looks like. So I'll show you an example of that here and how we can go through that process. So I would start by just picking the part that I am interested in. And then from inside of Windchill here, I can come to my Actions tab and choose to publish off an AR experience. When you publish it off, it's going to show you the visualization of how that's going to be laid out. You can give it a name, and then once you give it a name, choose how you want it to be oriented. So right now it's laying on its side. You can see that yellow base under it. And what this is saying is essentially when someone scans a flat space that they're going to be viewing this from, how do you want it to be oriented to that flat space? Do you want it to be sitting in front of it, on top of it, vertically, sideways? Choose that. Choose the visibility quality. And obviously, the larger the assembly, then when you make it high quality, it might take it a little bit longer to load as well as to publish. But once you have all of that set up, you can choose to publish this. And then, as I mentioned, you can either choose to do it this way with the THINGWORX or email a link directly to someone. And you can set some controls on who can view these, so you can make it private and have a password. But once someone gets the link or this THINGWORX, they can use the Vuforia View app, which is free and can be installed on iOS, Android, Microsoft. And then you can scan that and it will bring the object up into 3D space in front of wherever they're placing it, and they can start doing things like zoom in and out. You can actually clip through the model and look inside if you would want to. You can rotate them. But this just gives you a more interactive way to do things like design reviews and be able to share information with colleagues, and that's now built into Windchill. Moving on from Windchill 11.1 to our latest version with Windchill 11.2, we've seen a few more enhancements. Starting off with CAD usability, as I just mentioned, we're always trying to improve that CAD usability, and we now have the ability to do save as support for editing attributes. For anyone who's not used the save as functionality in Windchill before, what that allows you to do is take CAD objects and make a copy of them for a spin-off project, for example, or some new product that you're going to be producing. But traditionally, when you did that, you could not change the attributes about the data. So once you did the save as copy, you would have to check out those parts and edit the attributes individually, which can be a pretty big problem if you have a large assembly. It can be very time consuming. And so we've added the ability now, whenever you do the save as, you can see here in the image in the upper right hand corner, that you can actually see attributes about that data, and you can change it for all of them at the same time. So you select what objects you're interested in, a classic example being material. If it was a plastic or maybe a metal, say it's steel, you could say, I want to set all of these from steel to being aluminum, for example, and it would edit all of them at the same time so that you would not have to go through and check them out and do that by hand. You also have the ability to save shared views, so basically tables with specific views and context of information, and that is by group or context. So this just essentially allows you to have different views for different users and groups based on what information they would be looking for and what would be of interest for them, and make it easier for them to find that information rather than having standardized tables for everyone. You also now have multi-state representation visualization, and what that means is in your history, you can go in there, and before you could previously compare history versions, well, now you can go a step further and open those two versions up into Creo View and do comparisons visually of the differences between those versions, giving you a fast way to do some just visually comparison and understand what has changed from one version to the next. Document classification has now been added to PartsLink as well. So for anyone who's not used PartsLink, this allows you to organize your information with additional attributes based around things like what type of part it might be. So for example, you could say a mechanical part, washers, screws, nuts, bolts, whatever it is, break it down like that. Now you can do the same thing for documents. So you could have documents, quality versus general, and then maybe some end of life cycle documentation for things like services, and have all of that organized so that it's very easy and fast to find. Creo Illustrate has also been integrated into the process planning involved in NPM Link. So as I mentioned earlier, you can take a design build and push it to a manufacturing build that you can restructure and reorganize. You can also build process plans off of that manufacturing build materials so that you can plan out all the steps that you would need to build something. However, before 11.2, any visuals that you made were used from Creo View, but now you can do that with Creo Illustrate instead, giving you some more advanced options for the types of illustrations you would like to make. Lastly here, we have the ability to use simulations and process data management. So we can always manage your Creo Simulate information with the native work group manager. Creo Simulation Live, which is new to Creo, actually does not really require data management because it's stored with the native Creo files. And we are pretty well set up to handle other simulation tools as well and how you can leverage those and manage that information. So that's something we're always trying to do. We also have updated Navigate at the latest version in 9.5, or yeah, 9.5, which allows you to, 8.5, excuse me, which allows you to, one, have 3D annotation sets that you can view in the View Part app, so, or the View Structure app, excuse me. So if you have geometric tolerances or things like that, model-based definitions, you can view those from Navigate now, giving more users more information. You can also now be involved in the change management workflow from Windchill, allowing you to do tasks from Navigate as opposed to having to go into Windchill to do them. And we've made it easier to build custom apps using some of the THINGWORX drag and drop PLM capabilities, making it easier to build out custom applications using pre-built configurations. Moving forward, Windchill is always looking to help with manufacturing, as well as we have plans to help improve change intent and planning for change management, and continue to support simulation data management and increase that AR capability inside of Windchill. Now, before we close off for today, I did want to show one example inside of Windchill of some of the newer functionality here. So one thing to note was that capability to do advanced classification exploration for documents now. So you can see here in my classification tree, traditionally I would have only parts, maybe mechanical parts, software, electrical, but now I can choose to drop this down and choose documents instead. And so inside of this, I could have some quality documents, some general documents, maybe some manuals under there. If I'm looking for owner manuals versus accessory manuals, I could say I'm looking for an owner manual, and quickly it's going to find me all the documents that are in that categorization. And then from there, I can even further refine my results based off of maybe who created it, whether it's copyrighted, the number of pages, etc. But just a great new capability to be able to help you organize your documentation and be able to search on it even faster than you could in previous versions of Windchill. And we intend to keep adding new functionality like this to make the user interface simpler to use and give a better user experience overall so that you make the best use of your time. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it along to see if there were any questions that have come in throughout the conversation today.
Great. Thank you, Cody. And there, so the question is, will it search within attached documents?
So if you're referring to being able to do index searching into documents, it can if you have it set up for it. So it does have that capability. And if you're referring to specifically if you can search on attached documents, like in a document attached to a part, I think you could search, but not embedded. If you wanted to do the embedded searching, you would have to have it as more than an attachment and upload it as a document inside of the system.
Great. Yeah, it looks like no more questions, so all good there. Again, Cody, thank you so much for your time and appreciate you going through this with us. And of course, thank you for joining, everybody. We appreciate you taking some time, and hope everyone and your teams and families are all doing well, in the midst of the pandemic and everything we're dealing with. So we do hope that everyone is healthy and safe. So appreciate it, and we hope to talk to you all more soon. I will say one more thing: the recording and the PowerPoint here will be available on our website here shortly. So that should sync up in just the near future. If you're wanting to download this, or of course review the video and go through any of it and distribute it throughout your teams, please do. So thanks again, and hope to talk soon.